Yeah, we might as well start recording now.
Yes.
Because we have, quite a few people on board here. That's good. Thanks everybody for being here. So this is the last RTCC meeting of the year 2024. We hold 4 quarterly meetings, and this is the final one. So Dana Wood is heading for the Denver airport. She's over in Golden right now, and it's on our call, but she wanted to speak first before we do anything else. I think at some point we will be losing her for this
Thank,
meeting. So Dana, go ahead.
thank you. Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining the RTCC meeting. I just wanted to take a couple minutes and acknowledge Steve Child, who's been our RTCC chair for several years, and this will be his last meeting as chair. And Steve, I just want to let you know how appreciated you are and how much I have learned from you and how I have really just enjoyed your knowledge and your wisdom. You always take initiative to read things that I send you. You have such historical knowledge for this group and just for the region in general. So I really appreciate all of your service to this group and I hope your continued participation after your term as chair is done, because you're a huge asset to this group and you are really a true definition of what public service looks like. So I just wanted to take a couple minutes and just say how thankful I am, to have been able to serve with you in this little bit of time, on the RTCC.
Okay, thanks, Dana, for those sentiments. I really appreciate that. We've been having a discussion, and we feel that I will be term limited in January and will no longer be an elected official. And we feel that the chairman of the RTCC should be an elected official ideally, because there's matters of accountability to the public, and we are using public money for what we do. And it's important for the kind of the transparency to have an elected official as the chairman, if possible. I mean, we're working to get some other elected officials on the RTCC, active in RTCC. So we hope that comes about, and we'll see. I think I would still be able to participate in the RTCC just as an attendee.
Yes.
We'll see. We'll see as time goes on, what happens. If you see my one eye squinting, I have just have an eye issue where I was just diagnosed with macular degeneration in my right eye just last week, and so I have trouble seeing out of my right eye. This is a totally new thing for me, but I do kind of squint or sometimes totally close my right eye, so don't be concerned about it. So moving on to our
Real quick,
agenda.
can
Yeah,
we make
Mandy.
sure that everybody let into the meeting? I think some are still hanging out in the waiting
Oh.
room.
Yep, I just got it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mandy. Okay.
Okay, there we go.
Everyone else is joining. I'd give them just a couple of seconds. And then
Okay.
let's see here. We've got some and we've got some folks names coming into the chat, introducing themselves. So if for those of you who may have missed Dana's comment in the chat, if you could please put your name and who you're with in the chat, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think also include a good email address. So we would have a complete and accurate email address. And going forward, I'm just putting my personal email anymore. My Pickens County one won't be any good after January. So yeah, put a good long lasting email address. So Hope, I see that you are on here and we are counting on you to be taking some minutes. I also, there was a thing came up on IA thing that would record what is said here at our meeting. So I think that might be recording too, as a like a backup for taking our minutes. Okay. That's good. We have a really good group here today. Thanks everybody for being here. And let's get started. We have some important things to deal with today. We will first of all approve the minutes of the August 2024 meeting and then have a review of our transportation summit, which we held in September in Frisco. It was a very good event. I wish all of you could have been there. A lot of you were, but Mandy will give a review of that. Then we have some sort of arcane RTCC bylaws that we want to revise. We've done some major revisions on what we're proposing for changing them to make them much more workable and user-friendly, I think, kind of bylaws. Then we're going to talk about the roles and responsibilities of people participating in RTCC. And then I think the most important part of the meeting will be working on our goals and strategies. And we have Meredith Green is here. She lives in Durango, I believe. And Meredith, you can introduce yourself when we get to that point. But we're working on, we have a whole list of suggested goals and strategies that we could be working on. And a lot of people have put their input into this to rate them the high priority, medium priority, and low priority. So we'll spend some time on that, deciding what priority issues we want to work on in the next year. And then we'll be setting up work groups around each of our goal areas that we're going to be working on. And we hope that everybody will join one or another of those work groups to be, doing work in like a subcommittee on implementing and moving forward our strategies. So that's the general outline for today. So we're scheduled to go until 11:30. So one of the things we're suggesting in our bylaws is to possibly just dispense with Robert's Rules of Order kind of formality, but we still do have Robert's rules in effect right now. And so I'm going to, looking at the August 2024 meeting minutes, we need to approve those. So I would need a motion from somebody to approve those meetings, or then if anyone has any additions or changes to that, please bring them up now. And anybody can make the motion. We don't have like this membership thing that just whoever is here are the ones who can vote on these things here today.
Aaron Fisher, I'll make a motion.
Okay, thank you. And is there a second?
Charles McCarthy, I'll make the second.
Okay, thanks, Charles. All in favor of approval of the minutes from August, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any objections? That's an easier way to do it. Okay, let's move on to the summit feedback review. And Mandy's going to take this. Mandy, take it away. Mandy is our vice chair. You're muted.
Thanks. There we go. All right. The summit review back in, September, when it was a nice sunny day. That was great. We did have, let's see, one, two, like 10 people responded to the feedback form. Thank you for doing that. We had more than 10 attend the summit, but thanks for reviewing that. So I'll just go over what the feedback was that we had from that. All the feedback was really good. It was nice to meet other people in rural transportation and innovative projects that are going on. A lot of people liked the panel discussions and thought they were really interesting, and the discussion and attendance was great. So I don't think we had any negative feedback on that. I just want to ask, do you want me to go through every question or just give a summary? Are you good with the summary?
Well, it's your choice, Mandy.
Okay.
If something's important, bring it up. If it's not so
Sounds
important,
good.
skip over
Yeah.
it.
Let's see here. Um, so I think for future events, let's go over some topics to cover in future events. How agencies and organizations can collaborate and really focus on getting projects completed, and what's the best practices to go on those with some feedback. Review grant funding, make it more available or make it more known that these grants are out there and how to get funding. Future things, let's see. How rural Colorado beyond I-70 West can have a voice in transit was kind of something that stuck out to me. So I think we hear a lot about over on the Denver side, east side, but not much over on this area. So how we can work towards that. Coordinate between transit and trail systems. That's something for future events. Let's see. More interested in connecting volunteer transportation opportunities was a good one. And again, making more people aware of grants and funding opportunities. That was one that was popping up a lot. Let's see. Aspects that could be improved on, learning more, having these summits more often. So in the future, let's do more of them, or once a year. And then having breakout groups during a summit to discuss more in detail of transportation projects. And comments or suggestions about the summit. Bring more people from rural areas to the summit. That was good to know. And everyone was welcome, and all the topics were well participated in. So that's basically what a lot of the feedback was. Any questions?
Anyone can raise your hand either on the screen or do the little, let's see, react. I'm just trying to see where the raise your hand thing is on the bottom here.
It's just on your screen, your profile.
Anyhow, let's see, I'm not seeing it. My eyesight is not as good as it was last week, so.
That's okay.
And
Um,
react, so where there's the heart. Okay, there it is. Where it says react at the bottom, there's a raise hand. You could also do a thumbs up or whatever different emojis you feel like to lighten up this meeting.
so yeah,
Okay,
basically all the feedback was really good. And I thank everyone for doing that feedback form because it was good. It was our first summit that we had, and I thought it was well attended, and the discussion and engagement was great. So thank you for everyone that attended and participated. It's good.
Yeah, and I know that we all felt really good about the summit, the way it turned out, and the number of the amount of participation and just the ideas that were talked about. And there was lots of good energy there. And that's why we started thinking, well, maybe doing that once a year, have another transportation summit. And when we get our work groups working on things, that an annual thing could be a good time for us to all get back together and have the work groups share what they have accomplished during the year, and kind of deciding next steps for the following year. So maybe it
Yes.
would be good for an annual event. Okay, any comments from anybody on that? Okay, let's move on to the RTCC bylaws. So there are a couple of big changes from the old bylaws, which I won't go into all of the details, but I think the one couple of big things. One is the membership. The old membership list, it specified that there would be, I think, 21 members, and that they would fit all of these very specific slots. And there should be a certain number of people from different areas of government or transportation services or various things. So we have simplified that a lot just to have a much shorter list of areas that we would like to have people from these different areas, including transportation service providers, human services, public health, local government elected officials, veteran service providers, disability service providers, older adult agencies, hospital and medical providers, workforce programs, transit users and consumers. That's the category I would fit in the future. And not nonprofits serving under-resourced communities. So those are the general categories that we would like to have people from all those areas participating in this ideally. So that's a big change from what we did previously from the old bylaws. Another big change would be instead of following a strict Robert's Rules of Orders and having things on a strict vote where the majority, you have to establish a quorum. If you don't have a quorum, you can't even vote on anything. Then you have to follow strictly the majority wins on a vote. That's typical Robert's Rules of Orders, and it's very we didn't feel it was necessary for the RTCC to be so strict like that. And so we would like to do more of a consensus process for making decisions. Try to have things that everyone can agree upon, and everyone who's in attendance at a meeting. And then if there's an issue that somebody doesn't totally agree with, but they can live with it, and have the whole group continue working on something, that would be part of the consensus process also. And several of the organizations I work with operate on a consensus basis, and it really works very well for an informal. Oh, thanks for putting that up on the screen. That will help. So that consensus part is on the first page, page 1. There you see the list of the members. So this whole first part describes this consensus process. And maybe we should see if anyone has any questions about the consensus process right now, or any concerns about making that switch. I think it would be a good switch to move to a consensus. So if anyone has any concerns about that, please raise your hand and, bring up ideas on it. And why don't you scroll down through to the next page? So you see there the list, the areas, the membership areas that we're proposing, to try to have people from all those areas represented on the RTCC. The next section lists the officers, which we have a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary. The section 5, which is highlighted in yellow, describes what is in the current bylaws. The officer shall perform the duties described in the parliamentary authority, for example, Robert's Rules of Orders. And that's what we were thinking of, maybe deleting that part, that section 5.
Yes, Steve, I think we just wanted some feedback from the group on that section 5. Obviously, if people are in agreement that this should now be a consensus group, we can go ahead and delete that. So
Yeah.
if one doesn't have any comments on that part, then I'll make note to get rid of that.
So if anybody can raise your hand at any time when watching on the screen, we'll hopefully catch everybody. Anybody wants to make a comment on something, feel free to jump in. Let's see. Moving down, there's various things about, if the chairman can't be there, the vice chair fills in for the chairman. One thing that we added was that the chairman, we want to have somebody attending the board meetings of the Northwest Colorado Council of Governments, the big board meeting of our whole Northwest COG area, which I occasionally have been attending that because I am an alternate from Pitkin County. So I've attended sometimes in that role, but I never did attend as RTCC chair. But we just thought it would be good to have someone from our group at those meetings, and if the chair can't do it, the vice chair would do it. If the vice chair wasn't able to attend, that we would have somebody there, and maybe it would even be Dana as the last resort could be there. Now the Northwest COG board meetings, they have a economic development thing, which is sort of as a separate meeting that comes after the other meeting, and you wouldn't have to attend that part. That goes on into the afternoon typically. So I just wanted to point that out, that we wanted to make that an official part of the responsibility of the chairman. And the reason for doing this, we really want to have more communication and coordination between all of the various groups that work on transportation issues. So it would be the RTCC, it would be all the individual counties and municipalities and transportation agencies that we have in our area, including CDOT, Colorado Department of Transportation, which runs our very important bus service, which I am using more and more. There's more frequent service now coming through Glenwood Springs, and it's getting easier and easier to use So we want to have this communication between the various groups and including with the Northwest Cog Board. Let's see, scroll down to the next page. Wait, maybe it's farther up. The part about work groups. There at the bottom, it mentions Dana's role as mobility director, providing or help on regional coordination. So farther up the page, it talks about the work groups.
Hey, Steve, I think my invite that I sent out to everyone says 10:30 instead of 11:30 for some reason. So we might want to skip ahead a little bit in case we actually have to lose a bunch of people at 10:30. So I apologize for the invite not matching up with what's on the agenda. I don't know why it says 10:30 on the calendar. It should say 11:30.
Okay, and I had written 10:30 on my personal calendar because I had noticed that, but then on our agenda, it has it till 11:30. So, yeah, I agree. We should probably. Let me just finish up this idea about work groups. We would like everybody to try to participate in at least one work group. And we anticipate that the work groups, which will be working on our specific goals for the next year, will have a limited number of work groups. And we hope everyone will find one that they like and want to participate in, then can be a regular participant in that. And do the work in a subcommittee work group format and then bring it back to the whole board at a, future meetings. So that would kind of be a segue into our next item on the agenda having to do with our goals and strategies. So let's go to that part now. This is where Meredith is going to guide us through this. And I hope you all had a chance to download the list of an Excel spreadsheet showing our 5 main goal areas and our strategies that have been proposed. So Meredith, are you ready to start on this now?
I am. I was going to actually ask Dana if she wanted to tee anything up for us before I get started. Dana, did you have anything?
Sure. Just thanks for folks that participated in the mentee survey and ranking all of the strategies. I think what you'll see presented is the result of that. And so, yeah, excited to have a new direction for this group and some cool things to work on.
Cool. Thanks, Dana. Let me turn on my video this morning.
Meredith, I'll be talking here for just a second.
Go ahead.
I'll kind of tell how we got where we are now. The RTCC used to mostly deal with just emergent medical transportation for people who were on Medicaid or who were disabled veterans. It was a very limited role that RTCC managed, and we didn't really do much else besides that. Then those functions were taken over by a state agency by and large, and we really didn't have a purpose. So we started earlier this year re-envisioning what we wanted RTCC to be, that it could be much more. We could be a focal point for coordinating all the discussions between our 6-county region on transportation issues and helping not only people on Medicaid, but any older person, any disabled person, any veteran, any young child, any citizen who wants to get anywhere in the community to be able to, utilize our public transportation systems and, various options. So that's how we evolved to coming up with a much bigger strategy that we kind of fleshed out for the transportation summit. So handing it back to you, Meredith.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. Let me see if I can share my screen here. Zoom has been doing very odd things lately, so it's all kind of a mystery. Okay. I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm going to have to share my desktop to make this work, which always makes me cringe. Not that there's anything nefarious going on. It's just, this is my desktop. Okay. So can you, Mandy, can you give me a head nod if you can see that Excel spreadsheet? Let me zoom in. There we are. Better? Okay, good. Steve, you're on mute.
That's much better enlarged like that.
Okay. And this is, yeah, and this, for those of you who are struggling to see what is on my screen, this is the same attachment that Dana sent out. So it's the same thing. So if you need to pull it up on your own screens to follow along, that'd be fine. I really just want to talk you through all of this, and we'll spend the next little bit kind of discussing the whole point here. So just as a reminder, this is a branch off of your regional transit coordinated plan. And the whole point of this is to really focus in on not just giving lip service to transit and health and human services coordination, but actually like doing things and having implementation projects that the group can agree to move forward on. These strategies were developed in line with the goals back at this summer workshop that we hosted. And all I did was facilitate discussion here. So you'll see that this is just a little bit of a different format that went out earlier. For those of you who participated in the Menti poll to be able to rank these strategies, thank you. I know it takes time out of your schedule, but it's really important work. So let me explain what it is that we're looking at here for those of you who might be new to this matrix. So here on the left-hand side, we have 5 goals that the group, got more people coming in, that the group agreed to back in the summer that basically said, for your region, these are the overarching goals relative to coordinated transportation we'd like to see. So I'll be talking you through all of those as we move through here. Once we started doing goal setting, we kind of went through and said, okay, what are the strategies that need to actually happen for better transit coordination across the region? And so those are listed here in the strategies column. And then what I did was kind of go through and label each strategy with a timeline. And really these are estimates, right? So on the timelines here, you'll see I did a little key for you at the very bottom. Timeline short range implementation usually is about 1 to 2 years to implement. Mid-range is 3 to 5, and then long range, if it's labeled as long range, it's going to be more than 5 years. This is not necessarily true, depending on how you ranked the strategies. So if you rank, even if it's a longer term strategy that you rank high priority, if all of the collective effort is going to implement said strategy, it might take less time. And then I kind of went through and attached some potential funding streams to all of the strategy implementation costs. So this is where there's a lot of caveats, because obviously coordinated planning really is done only for 5310 funding. So that is the main funding stream here. And that's the FTA formula fund dedicated to older adults and individuals with disabilities. So that's going to be kind of our baseline standard. Yes, everything could potentially qualify for 5310 funding. Here's your caveat. there's not enough 5310 funding to go around. So this is where we need to get creative and look at possible other funding streams. In that case, I rolled in some rural transportation funding, just because all of this is rural. Don't worry, we're not coming to take your rural transit funding. We know how tenuous that is right now in the state of Colorado. So, in addition to that, what I try to do for each individual strategy is put together some potential other funding streams that could be used. And I will again caveat that to say, these funding streams are constantly changing. They're always in flux in that some of these application dates for these funding streams have already passed. And then we would need to look at what is available in 2025. But what I will tell you is there's always grant funding possibilities out there to be able to implement coordinated transit projects. So we just have to get creative and look at what's available in the timeline and have everything kind of as ready to go as possible so that we can apply for grant funding. Mandy, I think someone has their hand raised, but I can't click through because I'm screen sharing. So can you check on that real quick? Oh, and you're muted.
I'm muted. I think if you want to, Meredith, if you want to introduce yourself and how, I think a lot of people missed the very first meeting we had with you and what your
Right.
role was. So if you could just reintroduce yourself.
I should do that. Thank you, Mandy. I just get really excited about the work and start diving in. So, hi, I'm Meredith Green. I'm with Socius Amica. That is my public transit consulting firm, and I'm housed out of Durango, Colorado. I have been working in the realm of coordinated public transit and human service planning for a couple of decades now. So that's kind of how I got my start. This type of work is my bread and butter. And obviously I really like doing coordinated planning processes. My background, I've been involved in coordinated planning from kind of all aspects and all levels. So I actually got my start when I was a transit planner with Capital Metro in Austin and was heavily involved in the first plan that was developed in the 10-county region there. And at the time, if you can imagine Austin 20 years ago, yes, there was some urbanized areas, but a lot of it on the beyond the excerpts was quite rural. So there was a lot of coordination needed, especially with health and human service providers. And then from there, I went into research, coordinated planning and mobility management, and various funding streams and policies at Texas A&M Transportation Institute. And eventually made my way into consulting. And so a lot of the work that I do now is in coordinated planning. So that's a little bit of my background. But I'm quite familiar with kind of the state of transit and funding and all of our challenges in the state of Colorado. And I do also do a lot of work for departments of transportation relative to coordinated planning when they need assistance. So again, that's a little bit of my background. Thanks, Mandy. Are there any other questions up there before I keep talking?
Let's see, Meredith, I might remind the people who have been joining, if everyone could please go to the chat and put in your name and your title and a good email so we can have you, make sure we have you all the most accurate, up-to-date information that we can. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. That's a good reminder. So just for those of you who quickly joined, we are reviewing the goals and strategies that were developed at the summer workshop, which I facilitated in Gypsum. And what we've done since then is sent out a Menti poll, had you all, or as many of you who could participate, rank said strategies. And then we aligned those with timeline and possible funding streams. Before I get into the rankings, though, it looks like we have another hand raised. Mandy?
Let's see. I'm not seeing it on my end, but if you have your hand raised, go ahead and unmute and ask your question, please.
Or a question, is there a question in the comment?
There. Not seeing any questions in the
Okay.
comment, just people entering their name and
Okay, and information into the chat.
emails. Yes.
Well, then I'll have you kind of keep tracking that while I kind of go through the strategy rankings. Okay. So a couple of weeks ago, Dana sent out the strategy listing with a Menti poll. And the purpose of that was for you all to rank the strategies by goals. So you would have seen 5 slides. Each of them would have had the goal and then the collective listing of strategies. And you were assigned to rank said strategies. So what we did here was pull out for simplicity's sake, because you have quite a few strategies aligned with this first goal. We ranked them high priority, low priority, and mid. And the high priorities are the ones that were in the top 2 or top 3 of each ranking, and ones that you all felt needed to be implemented as soon as possible. The medium or mid priority were anything south of 3, and then your lowest 2 or 3 were ranked low. Now, let's just say here that doesn't mean that the strategy necessarily is less important. All of these are valid and need to be implemented. You've all agreed that this is a thing. It's just that we needed to rank them for the purposes of implementation and determining where do we go from here. Just real quick things to point out too. Also on the strategy matrix, you have an asterisk here for new service from Silverthorne to Kremling. That was ranked high. So I think it's important to point out that that's already in the works. And that's an example of once that it gets implemented, since it is already in the works, potentially you could then start picking off other strategies that are ranked, that weren't necessarily ranked high, but were in your next level. So what we really wanted to do today is just kind of go through the strategies. This part, I always refer to it as like, it's like pulling teeth, but the whole point is that we need to put together lead and support agencies for each individual strategy. This does not have to be 100% completed today. And in fact, we will probably find a way to share this matrix after the meeting online so that people can actively fill in additional lead and support agency information. But why do we do this? Your Northwest Council of Governments cannot be solely responsible for the implementation of all these strategies. If you or your agency signs up to be a lead agency, doesn't even necessarily mean that you are wholly or fiscally responsible for implementing said strategy. It just means you're taking the lead on it so that when you come back to future meetings of the RTCC, you can provide an update as to where we are with those specific strategies. Support agencies are any agencies willing to lend support to that lead agency or partner to be able to at least move the needle on the strategy implementation. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. We're not here to sign you up for millions of dollars worth of work, but we are here to keep things moving forward and keep the process going. Does that make sense?
Meredith, I really appreciate you saying that. And also for everybody, this is your group, and these are things that you've identified as things that you're excited to work on or that are necessary. And know that me as the admin support for this group, I am here to help with organizing meetings. If we need grant funding, I will write grants. If presentations need to be made, I can do those things. So I think that will be specific depending on the work group and the project, but know that I am here to also.
Thanks, Dana. So Dana's here to support and also help you all keep moving things forward. But she's right. At the end of the day, these are your goals and strategies that should be implemented for the region to improve quality of life for everybody. Okay, so what I'd like to do first is go through, and this is where if you want to pull this spreadsheet up in the background while I'm talking and have it present on your computer so you can kind of track what we're doing, that would be helpful. But the most important thing we need to do right now is run through the goals and the high priority strategies, and at least have this discussion generated about who's going to be lead agency and who's going to be support agency. It does not have to be set in stone today. We just need to start the discussion. And I think if we can start the ball rolling with our high priority strategies that you have ranked, then getting lead and support agencies for medium to low ranked strategies will be a lot easier. So first things first, your first goal, and the goals are not in any particular order. They are just 1 to 5. So it doesn't mean one goal is important than the others. The first goal is to work collectively to address gaps and silos in the regional transportation network. And your first high priority strategy is new service from Silverthorne to Kremling. So I think, again, it's important to note that this one is in progress, but of course we have to be able to keep the group updated as we move forward with that particular strategy, because it is a high priority. And so with that, and this is where I expect you all to speak up. Do we have any volunteers as tribute for lead and support agencies? And just unmute or raise your hand, unmute, whatever makes sense here.
Ann Findley with Summit Stage will take lead agency.
Perfect. Thank you. See, look at that great example.
Ashley with Kremling, I'm happy to be a support agency.
Got it. Thank you. We're off to a great start. Okay, so the next high priority strategy that is a mid-range timeline is to improve and bolster volunteer driver programs. So funding to incentivize drivers to sign up. And that could include, for example, free oil changes, tire rotation, first priority vehicle repair, which is huge here in rural Colorado, and then tax write-offs. And here's a pro tip I'm going to give you all. I am actually working on the national update to RTAP's toolkit on volunteer transportation, and that is actually going to be published next summer. So once that's completed, I will send Dana a link to the research, and you guys could totally cheat code all of that. So just wanted to let you know there's new research coming out on volunteer transportation early next summer. So do I have a taker for lead or support agency for the volunteer driver program piece?
So
This
Meredith,
this is Carly Reitman from Eagle County. I feel like we do a lot of this. I'm not sure I have bandwidth to commit to something for our region. So I don't know. I can commit to kind of our Mid-Valley and Eagle County areas for this because we do take it very seriously and depend on it. But again, I guess at this point, I don't know what that would look like for the entire group. So I'm not sure I feel comfortable saying I would lead the whole thing, but
so
that may not be
Carly,
helpful.
yeah, maybe the support agencies would be Eagle County Senior Services. Picken County Senior Services relies on some volunteer drivers also. So maybe that would be more regional, the support. I mean, the support agencies.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like that I can commit to that for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And Mandy may have other thoughts, but I just want to pipe in because we do obviously work a lot in that realm, but yeah.
Okay. That's helpful, Carly. And I mean, like I said, we're going to have brand new research on all of this coming out next year. So even if it's like a team, one thing I should note as we work through this, it doesn't have to be a single agency or a single person. There could be multiple support agencies listed on a given strategy. So that way it's not like you're out there by yourself. It could be a work group. Additional.
The veteran service officers deal with transportation for veterans, and they rely also on some volunteer drivers. So I would have them on I would say officers, not offices on that.
Okay.
Just another thought, Meredith, on the incentives over there. I thought of one that we could add to the list would be free car washes.
That's
It
huge.
always irks me. Picken County has a really great wash bay for washing county vehicles, but you cannot wash personal vehicles there, even though our car is like always plastered, and I would love to be able to wash it. Now, if you are being a volunteer driver transporting people, you want to have a clean car with really good visibility and also not an embarrassing, dirty car for taking people around. You want it to look nice. So I think that would be a very appropriate incentive that people who are volunteering would have that available.
is there someone or an agency that would like to just lead coordination of this strategy so that we can get a work group together?
Nobody raising their hands. Maybe it would be the work group to be, I have to come up with yeah, let's just have the work group and they can work on that, filling in that box.
Okay. So let's move on to the next one. This is actually pretty important. It's a mid-range strategy that is additional service capacity from Denver to Grand Junction. Super important connection. Again, this falls under goal number 1. Do I have a ringleader for this one?
I would suggest that CDOT with Mustang service maybe would be the lead group.
Definitely a possibility. We do have quite a few CDOT busting updates here. I think regardless of if CDOT is taking the lead on this, we still need someone representative of your RTCC to be able to communicate updates back and forth. So is there anyone who is willing to be able to do that, who is maybe even already be in touch with current busting updates?
I am incredibly hesitant to volunteer myself for any more work. This is Dawn Dexter at RAFTA. I probably, before I volunteer myself for that, I can check with my director who would like me to, keep my bandwidth focused, but for now I can be a contact. I want to be working with CDOT for RAFTA connections anyway. So yeah, I will hesitantly.
I'm putting a question mark, Dawn, so that
Thank
way
you.
you can leave it a little open. But I mean, really, it is a point of contact is what we need.
Yeah, and I think
I can help you.
Okay, thanks.
Was that Dana? Dana, was that you?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
I will help support you, Dawn.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Cool.
and
I'll try to
I
get
think
something.
I think putting CDOT in as a support agency, if they're not the lead, they would definitely be part of the support on that also.
Got it. Thanks, Steve. Okay, let's head down to goal number 2. And Dana, I am being mindful of our time. So we should have at least the high priority stuff completed in the next 30 minutes or so. Okay.
You're doing great.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay, so goal number 2 is to ensure consistent operation of safe, accessible, and affordable services, which is really mission critical in highly rural Colorado. So let's scroll over and take a peek at our high priority strategies. So the first one, again here, this has the asterisk next to it, which means it's already on its way, is to improve first and last mile accessibility for those who use mobility devices and for whom connections are a challenge. There's actually, I love to break this to you, a lot of grant funding possibilities to be able to make this a little bit more universal across your region, which is great. But regardless of all that, we still need a lead agency and perhaps a secondary agency to be able to report out on our progress here. So who would be interested in this?
This is Anne with Summit Stage. I can be the secondary.
Okay, thanks, Anne.
And Meredith, I think I'm going to put Erin Fisher down for this one, and her and I can talk as a sidebar, just because she's our vintage director.
Okay.
I see the AARP Community Challenge is doing a potential funding source for this one. So yeah, you can put Erin down, and I will chat with her.
I'm gonna say, okay, ERIN, correct?
Yes.
Super, got it.
And
Okay.
I would be willing to be part of the support group because this is definitely something I'm interested in. Something that I'm paying attention to at RAFTA as well for last mile mobility and accessibility.
Perfect. Gang's all here. Okay, and then the other one that is a high priority under this particular goal is low-cost regional fairs for older adults, individuals with disabilities, and low-income households. Again, this is another one that could potentially apply for AARP Community Challenge, which is super cool. But looking at collective fairs and how do we make it all work, especially for those individuals who are transit dependent. So do I have a taker on this one?
With support, this is Dawn. I think this kind of goes hand in hand. It'll be working with Bustang to coordinate, Bustang working with Summit, RAFTA, et cetera, because we're looking at how do we keep the cost smaller, right? So,
Right, agreed.
I can definitely be part of that conversation.
Super. Do I have a lead? There's a lot of you guys who haven't spoken up yet, and I see you. So, anybody interested in taking the lead?
Meredith,
So
are you sending
quiet.
this out, this sheet that you're creating right now? Will you be sending this out? Will it be sent out when you're done?
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is probably work with Dana and et al. To post it up on like a OneDrive or a SharePoint or somewhere online where you can actually dynamically update things.
Yes, I think that's a great idea.
Okay, super.
I can
Any
take the
takers?
lead on that. Hope Hunt with
Okay.
Northwest Colorado Center for Independence.
Ooh, that's a good one for you, Hope.
Thank you, Hope.
Okay.
Meredith, I'm thinking that some people are waiting to see the whole menu before deciding, well, where would they
know.
best be plugged in? So that
Well,
might be
yeah.
why some people are reluctant. They haven't decided yet which one they'd want to jump into. And I would
Which
hope
is
people will decide here before the end of the meeting.
Well, that's why I always refer to this process as pulling teeth. So we're only on the second goal. We have 3 more to go. Hope, thank you for addressing that one. And then Hope, if you ever want to follow up, I just misspelled this. If you ever want to follow up with me on additional information on regional fairs and the like, I'm happy to share some links for research that's been conducted on that. So happy to help. Okay, let's move on to goal number 3. So goal number 3 is really focused on integrated technology, educating your region on the use of technology in transit. So we're really at a tipping point here where there's a lot of technology that's available. Sometimes some of our passengers and would-be passengers are a little reluctant to use that. But the good news is you've got 2 of the strategies already underway under this goal. And the other good news is that there's grant funding that could potentially be tapped into. So your 2 high priority strategies under this include studying app-based platforms for fare purchasing that could be shared between multiple providers. There's a lot of use of this out there that we can learn from now. So you wouldn't have to necessarily reinvent the wheel. But do I have any takers on who would like to at least lead the charge on where we are with that? And while I'm here, I'll go ahead and introduce the other one that is underway, which is advocate for statewide universal app technology platform that integrates busing to rural local bus services. So those are your 2 technology high priority strategies. Obviously, CDOT would need to be involved in this other one, and that is moving forward. So I think it would be important to have someone just to be able to report out on that process. And then here we just need someone to kind of lead the charge or at least move the needle on where we are with the app-based platforms.
It seems to me that those 2 could be combined, because if you're looking at trying to find a universal statewide technology platform that works, you would be looking at all the things that are available, which was sort of the other goal, and figuring out which one would work best to make us. Now, maybe ours ends up not being statewide, but if it is a Mustang thing, I think it would be better to have it be a statewide thing and not just a Western I-70 kind of corridor thing.
Oh, I completely agree, Steve. And I think what does that look like for everybody, right?
Yeah,
I know
actually, Steve's strategy of looking at the whole thing before I volunteered for anything. I feel a bit responsible for these being on the list because I'm really passionate about us finding a way to make things easier for people to get between one mode of transportation and another. So, yeah, I'm willing to be a part of. Whether I'm lead or support. I have learned some of the platforms. So you can put
Okay.
Dawn with Rapta on. I don't know if you're combining these or, yeah.
Well, they definitely would hold hands, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, eventually it would make sense for you all to combine them, but then I think the broader question is, what's the timeline on implementation? Because it's tricky. I've worked on several of these projects in other states, and sometimes even with the best intentions and everyone holding hands in an agreement, sometimes grant funding and technology takes much longer to implement than what we would like.
So maybe the group at first studies all the different available ones and does that as soon as possible.
Sure. So in this
Then,
case, this is just a study, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and then certain ones rise to the top. And then at that point, we could approach CDOT Mustang service and see, do any of these work for you for a statewide application? And that might be the way to follow this, strategize on making the fastest progress. I wanted to ask Charles, when you were the RTCC chair, weren't we doing, I mean, I remember talking about doing, looking at the different apps for the technology in previous years, and I'm not sure where all that led, but do you recall?
Yeah, so that basically led to a website that we used to compile all of the transit providers by county as opposed to like an app because I didn't look into anything that far as like the app. But yeah, that was kind of the intention, was to eventually have an app that was kind of like a Google for all of the providers in the area. Kind of you can link everything together, which kind of seems like CDOT is doing now, right? With the Connected Colorado.
Thanks, Charles.
The comment in the chat from Sam, and it says, I've already done a lot of research on tech platforms, not payment though. I will work with Dawn.
Okay.
Sam with Town of Snowmass.
Oh, okay, great. Sam, don't freak out. I'm temporarily plugging you in here just so you and Dawn can work together. It's not for nothing.
Not freaking out is my middle name.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Sam.
Okay. Meredith, I was thinking I might want to participate in that also. I probably have 3 different apps on my phone that are transportation related, and it's always frustrating to me going back and forth. Like when I plan a plane trip out of DIA, I look at the RTD train schedule, the A train. I look at the Mustang schedule. When do I arrive at Union Station? When do I have to leave Glenwood Springs to get there? So right there, I'm looking at the Mustang app. I'm looking at the RTD schedule for the A train. I might be looking at the RAFTA schedule to see if I want to take a RAFTA bus down to meet the Mustang. That's 3 different
Right.
apps I have to look at right there for one trip. And it's
Yeah.
always frustrating to me, and I could see ways to, make it way better.
Great.
Maybe
So I've got you down.
It's Chris Southwick from the town of Vale. I mean, with Sam, we've been looking at this the same thing too, with town of Vale, and a lot of these platforms kind of already exist with GTFS. It's a matter of picking some, even like transit app. Ready does integration with Sabi. So it does, RAFTA, Bustang, RTD, even Core uses Masabi. So they all use the same fair payment system. So I'm happy to help with this too.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris.
Well,
Oh.
You gotta go sweep off the firewood. Would be great.
Okay. Any other comments on this third goal and these two strategies? It sounds like, and Dawn, I'm just circling back to what you were saying. Maybe this whole group could get together and just kind of talk about it outside of the RTCC and report back on kind of where are we with all of this.
Yeah, it looks like Lee Barger with Glenwood
Yes.
is willing to be a part of that as well.
Okay. I
Yeah,
cannot,
I'll lead that conversation with both of both things with that group.
Perfect. So I'm going to put like a little star next to your name, Sam. Great. Okay. Let's jump down to the fourth goal so we can keep humming along here. So the fourth one is really educating our public on what's going on, because there are a lot of systems and things can get kind of confusing. And then Mandy, there's one more chat. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything.
I just was saying how Lee's gonna join, and thanks, Lee.
Thanks, volunteers. So the fourth one is developing inclusive information and materials for educating and engaging the public. And a lot of these are relatively straightforward, one of which is already ongoing. But you've got 3 high priority strategies here, and I'm going to read through them so you all can let them marinate. So, and in fact, based on Steve's comment, I'm going to go ahead and read through 4 and 5, so that way you all have the information. So the first strategy that is high priority under the education goal is developing advocacy tools and engagement tools to promote RTCC for elected officials in the community at large. So a lot of this is that link between your electeds, kind of as broad shareholders in this whole process, and not only informing them of what you all are up to, but trying to engage them to get them to support your efforts. Another thing is developing a what are other communities doing information tool to share. And that's almost like a peer review, peer sharing piece, so that you can collect information on, hey, look over here, they're doing these cool things. Maybe we look to implement that eventually over here at RTCC, but the whole point is sharing information. And then the third high priority item under this goal is to actually include elected officials in RTCC meetings through invitations to present a transportation update from their respective communities. This is not only a good way to look to replace our beloved Steve, but a lot of it is also to engage those other communities and make them aware of the work that you're doing with RTCC by inviting them to a meeting just to present a transportation update. And so if there's someone willing to kind of spearhead the coordination of that, that'd be cool. So those are the 3 high priority items under goal number 4. I'm going to jump down to goal number 5, and then we'll come back up. So goal number 5 is to support ongoing planning, coordination, and collaboration while creating new community partnerships. And your 2 high priority items under this are to develop an internal recruitment plan for RTCC membership and engagement. So really looking at let's freshen everything up. RTCC 2.0, as Dana calls it. We have a 1-pager with our goals, our mission. We show what we're implementing. I sometimes call this like a briefing book or a quick 1-page read that just is flashy and shows what you're up to. So you can recruit additional members. And then collectively work together to develop driver retention programs that may be utilized by regional providers. So as you all are aware, driver retention and just finding drivers in general is a real challenge nationwide. There's actually quite a bit of research out there on this topic right now that could be potentially utilized by this group. But those are the two high priority strategies that remain, at least for this set for now. So I'm going to jump back up to goal number 4, which is your education piece. Is there anyone willing to spearhead the advocacy and engagement tools for elected officials and community at large?
Hey, this is Hannah, Western Colorado Alliance. Don't put me down to lead this, but I think my well suited to be a support. Oop.
Okay.
There it goes.
Gotcha. Thanks, Hannah. Anyone else willing to partner with Hannah to work towards this particular strategy?
I'm thinking that some of the things to reach out to the elected officials are similar to the ones in the fifth goal. Just to solicit new RTCC members who might be members of the public, or they might be elected officials or staff from the different local governments. So
Yeah.
that's kind of I could envision developing a PowerPoint presentation that you could take to a town council meeting and give them a short presentation just to let them know what RTCC is doing. Trying to solicit more participation from local entities or solicit ideas.
Yeah, we actually used to do that with our RTCC in the capital area in Austin, and we had a speakers bureau that we all collectively agreed with handouts, materials, and a PowerPoint presentation, and different folks from the RTCC would actually give that presentation to their respective elected officials.
I'm happy to help play a support role in this too, but I certainly don't want to be the spokesperson all the time for the RTCC, because I think having group members be the representatives is a stronger showing than the person who's getting paid to do the work.
Right. And it definitely, you're right. Like, I think the support role is a good idea, Dana, for sure, to at least make sure it's moving forward. But the RTCC will be better off when it is the members who are advocating for this group.
Dana, if you need, I don't want to be one that develops the materials like the PowerPoint or the speaking points, but I would be glad to do presentations for you if that's helpful. But you tell me what to say and I can riff from there.
I love that. And I think that's where I in the Northwest COG play the support role, is getting things developed and making things look nice. What really needs to happen with this goal is, do we have elected officials that can give their input as to like, hey, this made me really want to join this board that I'm on, or this, run for this elected office. So just having thought partners behind that. And I think we have the resources at the COG and through 53 times to make things look pretty.
Perfect. Teamwork makes the dream work.
So Meredith, I feel like there's a spot for me in this area too. I could be speaking as a former county commissioner and have be able to relate to the different elected officials, and I think I could help on that area.
Great. Thanks, Steve. So our next one is developing what are other communities doing information tool to share. It's this particular one would likely be, again, it would need to be a cohort to determine what it is that we're looking to do. So does anyone want to at least take the lead or be able to support this strategy?
I can definitely support this.
Okay,
Meredith with Eagle County Healthy Aging will support that too, just to see what other agencies are doing and report on it.
awesome. Thank you. Any other volunteers who'd like to be a part of this effort? Okay, let's scroll down to the elected officials piece. So this is involving like wrangling the elected officials to invite them to future RTCC meetings to give a transportation update. And Dana, if I'll go ahead and speak on this because this is something that she and I spoke about previously, which is sometimes our elected officials aren't 100% sure what's going on in their communities related to transportation, and in particular public and health and human service transportation. So this is an opportunity to kind of get an update from them and refocus. This is a new priority for your community. And so it's about the invitation piece and inviting these electeds to the meetings. Now, this could be sliced and diced a million different ways. It could be that there is a single person for RTCC that is coordinating this effort, and then you as individual communities would go and ask your respective electeds to attend to provide an update. Let's see, there is a comment. Mandy, hate to put you on the spot, but is there a comment that relative to this one that we need to respond to?
Says Lee can join the what are others doing?
Okay, great. Lee, I'm putting you down. Awesome. Thank you, Mandy. So does anyone want to help spearhead this effort here, which is the electeds and the transportation update at RTCC?
You could put me down as a support on that one, Meredith.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. Would anyone else like to help out? And really, I think at this juncture, it's more so just developing a couple of sentences that says, we'd like to invite you to RCCC to provide a transportation update. Please join us. We'll give you 10 minutes to tell us what's going on in your community and so on and so forth.
I can work with Steve on that. This is Dawn.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing that comes into play, and like even our meeting today, the Steamboat Routt County Commissioners are meeting today. They do their work session on Monday. Garfield County Commissioners have their work session on Monday. So depending on when we have our meetings, we could be totally eliminating a whole group of people who might want to participate. So that would be one of the things we need to figure out. When are the regularly scheduled meetings from different entities who we might want to have participate?
Right. It's a really good point, Steve. There's a lot happening in the chat, Mandy. What's going on?
So Sam says just copy paste Dawn in all the cells.
Poor Dawn.
Yay,
It can't be. I'm going to reiterate this for the group. It cannot be Dawn doing everything, and it can't be Dana doing everything. So when I send this out later via Dana or whomever, there are a lot of mid to low range strategies that still need leads. And if you're so compelled, or if you just need to ask your supervisor or whomever, sign up for a high priority strategy. Okay. But yes, Dawn, her head's going to explode. She can't do all the work. Bless her heart.
So
Yeah.
one thought I have had is some of these are sort of by river basin. So the Roaring Fork Valley has a group of people working on things that are, a lot of them more specific to the Roaring Fork Valley. And maybe we have to have regional work groups, might be something to consider, to work on the issues that are more specific to that region.
Right.
So just tossing that out right now, but it'd be easy to get together in Carbondale or somewhere in the Roaring Fork Valley with those of us who live here and chew some of these things around. The same way in the Eagle Valley or same way over in Summit County. Maybe that would be a way we could organize some of these activities.
Definitely. Thanks, Steve. So
I-
let's jump down to, oh, go
I
ahead.
actually kind of agree with that, because thinking about Summit County, I am definitely interested in Kremling and Winter Park and Granby. And so I plan on volunteering for anything that's related in our
Sure.
region. I think more region related.
Sorry, I'm almost done with this.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Anne. Yeah, and go ahead, Mandy.
Hannah said I can help support Steve and Dawn on this one. I think it was, which one are we on?
It is this one, the transportation update with the elected officials.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. So rapid fire round for goal number 5. Definitely last but not least. We kind of talked through the goal, and the strategies for this one are recruitment plan. So are we developing a 1-pager? I know that if we were to develop content for a 1-pager, I'm sure Dana could support, not to put Dana on the spot, but there's cute materials coming out of the COG. And then the other one is working together to develop driver. Okay. Yeah. Working to develop driver retention programs. So who can help with the internal recruitment planning for RTCC? Knowing that you've got Dana to help support you. It's just recruitment. You guys can do this. Come on.
I can Hope Hunt with Northwest Colorado Center for Independence.
I think that has my name written all over it in terms of, reaching out to elected officials to try to recruit more. At the same time, putting in a plug for just having attendance by someone at RTCC.
Right. Any other tributes for this particular strategy? Let's jump down to driver retention. Anybody currently working on this or would like to lead this strategy?
Yeah, I'll lead it, but Chris Southwick's gonna help me.
Okay, got it.
He doesn't know that, but
And Sam, I also have some additional materials that if you need me to send them your way, I can do that.
yeah, please do.
So we can definitely follow up on all of this. Okay, any other tributes for high priority strategies at this time? Let me talk next steps with you, and this will be in conjunction with Dana.
Can I jump in and make a request?
Sure. Yes. Yeah.
All the way up. One of the strategies under the first goal.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, here we are. Which one, Sam?
I'm gonna volunteer once we get to the next step to support on the create paratransit service from Carbondale to Aspen, but I would be very appreciative if it said Aspen / Snowmass Village.
Oh, you got it.
And I know Don's gonna lead that one, so I'm happy to help you, Don.
Okay,
That
I'm
one
gonna
is
put you.
daunting to me, which is why I haven't opened my mouth yet. But it is something that is totally within my purview at RAFTA. So yes, I should be part of that.
Well, I'll put you down as support for now, and then y'all can sort it out.
We're talking
Yeah.
about that one. Eagle County Healthy Aging, Mandy and Carly are definitely interested in helping with that. We've been trying to work on that for several years now, so
Yep.
we'll keep going.
Yeah, sorry to jump around on you there.
No, totally okay. See, you just led the charge on getting everybody else to start volunteering for the medium to long range, low priority goals or strategies. So that's what I was going to say. Thank you, Sam. For your next steps, I'm going to clean this part up just a little bit more. We will post this online and make it interactive. So all of those of you who did not speak up today can go back through and sign up to be a lead or support agency on additional strategies that will move the needle on coordinated planning in your region. So I really appreciate those of you who stepped up to kind of volunteer today. I'm going to turn it over to Steve with 5 minutes left to kind of take over the meeting, and you'll be seeing this. I think as far as timelines go, Dana, we would want people to sign up for stuff or at least have a handle on this before Thanksgiving break. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's a good goal. I ideally would like work groups to have one meeting in December so that they kind of are getting to know each other, getting their bearings. I can certainly help out with those.
Great.
Okay, and one other thought on this. If anybody comes up with any other goals that you think would be a good goal for RTCC to tackle that aren't on the list, feel free to suggest them. You know, maybe this year they don't make the cut, but to get them on the list so we don't lose the ideas for innovative thoughts about how to improve things in your locality are very important. Also, if anybody finds any articles in your reading from different sources across the country that might be pertinent to something that could help us out, be sure to get a copy of them and maybe get that forwarded to Dana, and then that way we could share it with the appropriate groups or share it with everybody. Because I'm always coming across different articles about things. Also, I'm thinking that there are probably publications that maybe Sam or somebody who, you know, runs one of the transit agencies reads all the time that the rest of us aren't even aware of those resources for getting new information or new thoughts or what other people are doing in other parts of the country. All would be really helpful to us. So let's see. Next steps. I think it's important what Meredith has pointed out that we'd like everybody to be able to participate in some area or other of, you know, these different work groups that we have come up with. We don't have them combined, you know, created yet, because we need to have more input when everybody gets a chance to look at the spreadsheet and fill in the gaps. But those of us who volunteered for certain areas, we can start looking at getting together for a one-time meeting before the end of the year and start working on these goals. Also, we're always on the lookout for other people to be able to participate in this. So I was sitting here thinking how Eagle County Senior Services is very well represented here today. I'm the lone person who participates in Pitkin County Senior Services at the meeting here today. And I'm thinking, you know, we really should have an official representative from Pitkin County Senior Services participating. Now, I don't know if there's anybody there from Eagle County Transit Authority. I'm not sure what everybody's slots are who's here in attendance today, but you know, there are different people not represented at our meeting or different agencies not represented in our meeting today. And so we need to try to fill in those kind of gaps too, in terms of reaching out to get a broader representation.
I did want to make sure that we got one more thing in the chat, that Sam wanted to add Glenwood Springs to Eagle, closing that gap. So yeah, make sure to add that. And I have to hop off. I am at the airport and I'm headed to Morocco for 10 days. So I appreciate everybody's input and participation, and I'll be sending out notes as soon as I get back.
Okay, thanks, Dana, and Dana, have a great trip in Morocco. Don't get shanghaied or
Thank
whatever
you.
happens.
Thank you, guys.
Let's see, there's one other thing talking about the Eagle to Glenwood Springs connection. We'd had discussions about, reinvigorating the train line from Gypsum to Glenwood just as a way that commuters could get through Glenwood Canyon on the train instead of on the highway. So if the highway is closed, there'd be an alternative. And months ago, I talked to Kathy Chandler Henry, Eagle County Commissioner, about this idea, as well as I mentioned it to her daughter, who's, a congressional aide, Hillary Henry. Well, I don't know how things played out, but there is a whole group who is really studying getting the train service from Leadville to Glenwood Springs. And it would be partly a tourist thing and partly a commuter thing to fill in some of those gaps. And so that having a rail component to all of this, I think, is part of our consideration for, filling in the gaps. So there is this whole mountain rail effort to get the train, a passenger train back to Craig. So going from Bond up to Craig is the part that the passenger service was discontinued at some point. But we can also make it from Glenwood Springs to Leadville. Most of the tracks are already there. They're being unused at this point because they're no longer hauling the coal over to the steel mills in Pueblo by that route. But that's just something to keep in mind when we're talking about all our various bus systems, but we have to remember that train system is a possibility also.
Steve, if I could, I'd just add that I think it's a resiliency thing too. That I think really falls into this group's wheelhouse, right? So when the highway is closed, people can still make that commute. And vice versa, the train's closed, you can still use the highway because rarely do we get a mudslide coming from both sides at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Sam.
And Steve,
Yeah, and that was my thought, but when Glenwood Canyon was closed and CDOT was soliciting ideas like, how are we going to solve this problem? That's when I thought of, well, let's do the train. Yeah, Mandy?
go all the way. Let's see. Don't stop at Glenwood Springs. Go to Rifle or ultimately Grand Junction.
Well, we did end up with sort of Leadville to Rifle was where my discussion with Kathy ended up at that time. This group that is officially formed in Eagle County is looking at going Glenwood Springs to Leadville. But I think going to Rifle would be totally appropriate at least. Maybe to Parachute, maybe to Grand Junction. Let's dream big on this.
Yep.
Okay, let's see. Does anyone have any other thoughts on this process that Meredith has led us through, or any of the other things we talked about today? Let's see, I'm thinking we've already lost several people had to leave at 10.
Yeah.
Let me just wrap this up. We didn't talk about some of the roles. Let's see, there were some roles or kind of the responsibilities of people on the work groups. All of that was in the packet for this meeting that was sent out by Dana. So if everyone could take some time to just look over the different things in the packet, maybe make more sense to you now than did earlier, now that we've talked about the various things. But I urge you all to take time to look over that material. thank you all for being here today. Any time for last thoughts, or if anyone has an update for what is happening in your community that you want to share, this would be a good time to do that. So looking for any raised hands. I'm not seeing any. I'm thinking, Dawn, I need to get together with you. Maybe we could get together and meet sometime, since we're working on some of the same issues together.
Absolutely. I didn't see your contact info in the chat. I was gonna.
It's right at the bottom, the very last thing on the chat.
Hmm.
And I'm not seeing. Let's see, let me give you my cell number, 970. If you want to chat it down, jot it down.
Go ahead.
970-948-3008.
And what's your email address, Steve?
Well, I'm switching to my personal one because the county one won't be good anymore, but it's
Oh, there, I see it now.
evitz.child@gmail.com. Evitz
I
is
see
Steve
it,
spelled
thanks.
backwards, which is how I used to write my name when I was a little kid.
Okay, I will contact you, Steve.
Okay, great. All right.
Thanks.
Well, thanks everybody for being here. We will see you all down the road here somewhere.
Yes, thanks, Steve.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody who
Um,
volunteered and showed up.
And I guess we have to end the recording. Let's see.
Steve, it'll automatically end when we drop off.
Okay.
Thank you.